Hello, sleepy thinkers, and welcome to Sleepy Science Teller. I'm so glad you're here tonight. It's time to let your mind slow down, to drift gently into the soft rhythm of curiosity and peace. Tonight, we'll be exploring something very close to you, something that has been quietly working since long before you were born. The hidden evolutionary secrets written deep inside your genes, inside every one of your cells, is a long, delicate molecule called DNA. It's a soft spiral of history, carrying messages passed down from ancestors millions of years ago. Your DNA is not just your story. It's the story of life itself, of how the very first living cell slowly learned to become you. Each gene is like a sentence in a language older than time itself. Before we begin, I'd love for you to share something with me. Where in the world are you listening from tonight? And what time is it where you are? Let's see how far this quiet wave of wonder travels. And if you enjoy these soft explorations, please gently tap the like button and subscribe so you can drift off to more stories of science and serenity every night. Take a slow, deep breath and imagine for a moment the quiet hum inside your body. Every heartbeat, every gentle pulse is powered by something microscopic, something ancient, a code older than mountains, older than the oceans, older even than the air itself. That code is your DNA. It lies coiled softly within every cell, a thread so thin it could stretch for meters if unwound, and yet it hides within a space smaller than the width of a hair. Your DNA is like a whisper from the beginning of time, a soft, unbroken melody that began billions of years ago, when the very first spark of life flickered in the warmth of a primordial sea. Back then, there were no eyes to see, no voices to speak, only molecules dancing in the water, trying to find patterns, trying to learn the rhythm of existence. And in that quiet dance, something miraculous happened. One tiny molecule learned to copy itself. It became the first messenger, the first storyteller of life. That was the dawn of DNA's whisper. Over endless ages, this molecule changed, adapted, and refined its message. It learned to store information, not just about survival, but about growth, color, sensation, and thought. It became a library, a living one, filled with every lesson that life ever learned. Tonight, as you rest, that library hums inside you. Each cell of your body is reading from its own tiny book of life, turning the pages one by one as it grows, heals, and renews you. There's something deeply poetic about that. You are not just alive. You're also remembered. Every atom of your being carries the memory of those first ocean waves, those first moments when life dared to begin. Scientists once thought of DNA as a purely biological tool, a set of chemical instructions for building proteins. But when you think softly beyond the science, you can sense something deeper, something spiritual even. DNA is connection. It connects you to everything that has ever lived, to creatures that once crawled, swam, flew, and bloomed. It connects you to ancestors who dreamed under ancient skies, and to children who will one day carry your song forward. The whisper of your DNA is the whisper of life itself, unbroken, eternal, serene. If you could listen, really listen, to the molecules inside you, you might hear a language being spoken, one without sound, one made of patterns and pulses. The letters of this language are only four: A, T, C, and G, adenine, thymine, cytosine, and guanine. tiny chemicals that pair up like old friends to form the steps of a spiral staircase. Each step is a word, each turn a sentence, each strand a story. If we were to write down all the letters inside a single human cell, it would fill a stack of books taller than a mountain. And yet, your body reads a script flawlessly every moment of your life. When you breathe, your DNA is there, guiding your lungs to absorb oxygen. When you dream, it helps your brain repair and grow. When you heal, it directs your cells to knit together the fabric of your skin. It's extraordinary how silent this language is. You don't feel it working. You don't hear its voice. And yet, it never stops speaking. DNA is not just a blueprint. It's a symphony. Every cell a musician, every gene a note, playing together in the orchestra of life. When a heart beats, when a neuron fires, when a leaf unfurls, somewhere DNA is being read, translated into motion, into warmth, into meaning. For billions of years, this language has been passed on, not through ink or words, but through replication, an elegant form of memory that transcends time. Think about it. When the first living beings emerged in the ocean, their DNA was already learning how to survive, how to evolve, how to endure. That same thread, that same whisper, still runs through you. The DNA that hums quietly inside your cells tonight is the direct descendant of those first living molecules, unbroken, unchanged in spirit, but endlessly evolving in form. This thought can be so comforting because it means you are part of something that cannot be erased, something that has survived every catastrophe, every storm, every extinction, every silence, and it's still singing softly inside you. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine your DNA as light, a glowing, spiraling filament turning slowly in the darkness like a golden ribbon that catches the stars. That light doesn't just belong to you. It's been passed down from mother to child, from ancestor to descendant for countless generations. Every heartbeat is powered by the same molecular rhythm that once pulsed through the veins of ancient creatures, through fish that swam beneath coral reefs, through mammals that roamed prehistoric forests, through humans who once gazed up at the same night sky you see now. And though our forms have changed, our essence is not. The melody remains. You might wonder what makes DNA so durable, so patient, so eternal? Part of the answer lies in its simplicity. For letters, repeated billions of times, woven in infinite combinations, each repetition makes it stronger, each copy a memory of survival. But perhaps the deeper reason is that DNA is built not just for life, but for continuity. It doesn't cling to the past. It evolves through it. It doesn't fight time. It flows with it. DNA is nature's way of saying, I remember, I adapt, I continue. And through that continuation, it whispers to you that you too are part of this never-ending current. You are not an isolated being floating in the universe. You are the universe, continuing itself. Your DNA is the story of how stars became cells, how cells became creatures, how creatures learned to think, to love, to dream. Every cell in your body carries a memory of light, a quiet, ancient glow that once burned in the heart of a star. And though we can't hear it with our ears, our hearts can still sense the rhythm. The whisper of your DNA is a lullaby from the cosmos, a song of persistence, of change, of peace. As you breathe softly tonight, that whisper continues, deep within, carrying forward the story of life. One heartbeat, one breath, one dream at a time. Imagine a language so simple that it uses only 4 letters, and yet so powerful that it has written every living thing that has ever existed. A, T, C, and G, these 4 symbols, adenine, thymine, cytosine, and guanine, are the letters of life's code. Every plant, every animal, every cell uses the same alphabet. It's humbling, isn't it? To know that everything from the petals of a rose to the neurons in your brain is written in the same biological handwriting inside each of your cells. These 4 letters are arranged into words, and those words form long, curling sentences, spinning together into a spiral, a double helix, the shape of life itself. That helix is like a staircase made of light. Each step connects 2 letters. A pairs with T, C pairs with G, locked together like puzzle pieces, each one holding its perfect partner. It's almost like the universe wrote poetry, with 4 letters that never get tired, repeating across time, creating everything we know. And yet, for something so universal, DNA is astonishingly quiet. It doesn't shout its presence. It whispers, working in the background, reading its messages over and over, so gently that we hardly notice. When you blink, when you dream, when your skin heals, your DNA is busy copying itself, flawlessly, patiently, millions of times a day. It's the same process that happens inside the roots of trees, inside the wings of a dragonfly, inside the beating heart of a whale. For letters, written in endless combinations, directing all of life. Think of it as if every creature on earth is a different verse in one cosmic song. Your verse is beautifully yours, but it still follows the same rhythm, the same grammar. That life began writing billions of years ago. You are part of that harmony, a tiny note in the grand melody of existence. And tonight, as you listen, your cells are quietly singing that melody too, turning chemical words into the symphony of life. If you could zoom into your DNA, you'd see an endless spiral of order. It's not random, it's organized, beautifully, intricately, like a celestial blueprint, drawn by nature's steady hand. Each gene is a small instruction, a line of biological text that tells your body what to build. One gene decides the shape of your eyes, another, the rhythm of your heartbeat, another, the chemistry of your emotions. It's almost like a recipe book, but instead of flour or sugar, it uses molecules, timing, and energy. And yet, the magic of DNA isn't just in its instructions. It's in the patterns, the way those 4 letters repeat, over and over, like musical notes in a gentle lullaby. Sometimes the same pattern repeats for no reason we yet understand. Sometimes it echoes an ancient function, a forgotten switch, a dormant rhythm from long ago. In every cell, these patterns are read, translated into proteins, tiny machines that fold, twist, and assemble to form the architecture of life. Proteins build muscles, they carry oxygen, they sense light, and they allow thought itself to happen. When you smile, it's because proteins move across nerves, bridging invisible distances. When you fall asleep, proteins help release melatonin, guiding you into dream. And all of this, every twitch, every breath, every dream, is written in those same patterns. It's beautiful to realize that the universe didn't need countless alphabets. It only needed 4 letters. 4 to describe everything. 4 to build infinite forms. Even the simplest bacterium and the most complex human brain are written in the same code. That's why scientists call DNA a universal blueprint, because it's shared, not just among species, but among all of life. When you hold a leaf in your hand, you're holding something that speaks the same genetic language as you. When you watch a bird glide across the sky, some part of its code is nearly identical to your own. This connection isn't just scientific, it's profoundly emotional. It tells us that we're not strangers. We are relatives, branches of one great, breathing tree. The DNA inside you tonight has cousins in every living thing. Every creature is part of the same silent network, connected through that shimmering 4-letter code. And if you listen closely, you might almost feel it, that quiet hum of shared existence, flowing through every living thing on Earth. Long before science had microscopes or theories, humans sensed that life was connected. They saw the same patterns in shells, in leaves, in clouds, and wondered why. They couldn't see DNA then, but they could feel its harmony. Now, with the lens of biology, we can see it clearly, a universal design that links everything from the smallest cell to the vast ecosystem of the planet. The phrase, universal blueprint, isn't just a metaphor. It's truth. Every strand of DNA on Earth follows the same structure, the same elegant spiral, and that spiral always turns in the same direction. It's almost like the universe had a favorite pattern, a sacred geometry that it used over and over again. There's comfort in that, because it means that even in chaos, there's order. Even in diversity, there's unity. We are all built from the same gentle spiral, written by the same ancient hand. The blueprints in your body carry the wisdom of survival, the art of creation, the memory of everything that has ever lived. It's astonishing that something so small, so invisible to the naked eye, can hold such vast knowledge. DNA doesn't just tell you how to live. It tells you how life itself once learned to live. It remembers what worked, what adapted, what endured. And though your DNA feels uniquely yours, most of it is shared, not only with other humans, but with animals, plants, fungi, and bacteria. You share nearly half your genetic code with a banana and about 98% with a chimpanzee. It's a reminder that we are not separate stories. We are one continuing narrative. When you look at your reflection, you are seeing an ancient blueprint at work, the same one that sculpted wings, roots, scales, and skin. DNA doesn't belong to humans. It belongs to life. All of life. You are simply one verse in the great unfolding poem of existence. And every day, your cells continue to write, to replicate, to hum softly, adding new lines to that universal poem. It's an unending act of creation, delicate, sacred, and timeless. So, as you breathe quietly tonight, remember, you are not a random collection of atoms. You are a carefully crafted design, a shimmering reflection of a universe's favorite pattern. A, T, C, G. For letters, one story, told billions of ways, and still being written inside you. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine that deep within your cells, tiny echoes are still whispering from lives long, long past. Your body, as modern and alive as it feels, is built upon memories that are billions of years old. Hidden inside your DNA are fragments of ancient beings, the faint signatures of creatures that no longer walk the earth. These aren't ghosts in the haunting sense. They are fossils made of code, molecular memories, still living, still active, woven into the architecture of who you are, long before humans, long before animals. Even before the first fish swam through the sea, there were single-celled organisms, tiny, fragile things, surviving under a sun that burned much brighter than ours. They faced fierce radiation, acidic oceans, and endless storms, and yet they endured. They learned to copy themselves, to share information, to remember. Those early survivors became your ancestors, not in name, but in pattern. Some of the genes that helped them adapt still exist inside you today. When your immune system fights infection, it sometimes uses methods that were first invented by those ancient cells. Imagine that your body, this human body, fights using strategies that were written in a microscopic world. 3 billion years ago, scientists have discovered that around 8% of human DNA comes from ancient viruses, genetic hitchhikers that once invaded our cells and never truly left. Over time, our ancestors didn't just survive these viruses, they used them. Some viral genes now help control how our cells grow, how our placentas form, how we develop before we're even born. The invaders became part of the family. You might think of your DNA as a peaceful library of order, but it's more like a cathedral of history, layered with the echoes of evolution, each brick carrying a whisper of the past. When you breathe tonight, the very enzymes that process oxygen in your blood were once used by ancient bacteria to survive without air. Every part of you is an echo of something that came before. You are not just the present moment. You are the sum of every life that has ever lived before you. Let's travel back, far beyond the reach of memory, to an earth without trees, without color, without sound. 4 billion years ago, the planet was young and restless. Its surface shimmered with molten rock and water vapor. And somewhere in that turbulent ocean, molecules began to gather. They floated, collided, and sometimes, by pure accident, formed shapes that could copy themselves. From that fragile chemistry came the first spark of life. When scientists look deep into the structure of our DNA, they see faint traces of those early experiments. Some genes are nearly identical to the genes found in bacteria that have barely changed since those ancient times. It's as if the ocean's memory was captured, preserved inside us. The fluid in your cells, the salty, watery solution that keeps you alive, is a direct descendant of the primordial sea. Its balance of salt and minerals is almost identical to the oceans of early Earth. You carry that ocean inside you. Every heartbeat sends waves of that ancient water through your body. The rhythms of the sea still echo in your pulse, and your DNA, which floats within that salty tide, still speaks the language of those first organisms. It knows how to divide, how to heal, how to remember, even the way your cells communicate, sending electrical pulses and chemical messages, comes from those same beginnings. You are, in a very real way, a walking continuation of the first ocean, a ripple that never ended, a wave that learned to think. Sometimes when you look up at the stars, You might feel small, but when you look inward, you find something vast. A lineage so deep, it connects you to every drop of water, every blade of grass, every breath of wind that has ever touched this planet. The echoes of ancient life are not separate from you. They are you. They hum in your blood. They shimmer in your eyes. They flow through every heartbeat. And they're very, very old. There's a beautiful thought in biology that life never truly dies. It simply changes form, passing its essence forward. Every creature that has ever lived has given a small part of itself to the next generation. When you trace your ancestry back, not just through your family, not just through humans, but through life itself, you find a single unbroken chain. From you to mammals, to reptiles, to fish, to the simplest microbe that once floated beneath the waves. Each link in that chain left behind a genetic gift, a tiny improvement, a new tool for survival. The way your blood carries oxygen, a gift from the first bacteria that learned to use iron. The way your cells handle energy, a collaboration with ancient microbes whose descendants still live inside you as mitochondria, your body's little power plants. These mitochondria were once free-living organisms, independent creatures of the sea. At some point, they were absorbed into larger cells, and the partnership was so successful, it never ended. They became permanent residents, helpers, allies, quiet companions in every breath you take. Even now, they have their own DNA, a tiny circular genome that whispers of their ancient freedom. Inside you, ancient life still lives, not as fossils, not as memories, but as working parts of who you are. And there's something profoundly comforting in that, because it means you've never really been alone. You've always been surrounded, supported, carried by the wisdom of your ancestors, human and non-human alike. Their resilience is your resilience, their survival your inheritance. You are their continuation, the next verse in an endless song. And as you breathe quietly tonight, the ancient world breathes through you, the ocean's rhythm in your blood, the stars' chemistry in your veins, the earth's memory in your genes, all of it coming together to form you, a being made of time, born from echoes, carrying the oldest whisper of all, the whisper of life that refuses to fade. That whisper lives in your DNA, in every cell, every heartbeat, every dream. It hums softly, a lullaby from a world long vanished, yet still alive, through you. If you close your eyes and imagine the story of life, you might picture something grand, unchanging, eternal. But the real story is far more delicate. It's written in the smallest shifts, the tiniest variations that occur within the blueprint of life itself. These tiny differences are called mutations, and they are, in truth, the very heartbeat of evolution. You see, each time a cell divides, it must copy the entire library of life, billions of letters, all written in that simple alphabet of A, T, C, and G. And once in a while, a single letter changes. A soft flicker difference appears, as though nature took a tiny pause and decided to write a word just a little differently. That's a mutation. Most of the time, nothing changes at all. The code keeps working. The body keeps functioning. The world moves quietly forward. But sometimes, that tiny change unlocks something new. A new color, a stronger structure. a slightly sharper mind. It's a slow process, so slow that it seems invisible, and yet it is the reason every leaf, every feather, and every heartbeat exists as it does. Long ago, when the oceans were young and the earth was wrapped in warm, blue mist, life began to copy itself. Tiny, single-celled beings, replicating again and again, carrying their instructions inside fragile strands of DNA. And one day, a small shift occurred. A molecule twisted the wrong way. A letter flipped. That was the first mutation. It was not an error, but a possibility. A new version of life's song, playing softly beneath the waves. And from that quiet beginning, the symphony of evolution began. Even now, your body remembers that rhythm. Every second, millions of your cells divide, copying their code, making small adjustments, tiny whispers of change. Most are meaningless, but some carry the power of creation itself. That is the power of mutation. Not chaos, but creativity, the smallest brushstroke in nature's endless painting. Imagine the world if no mutation had ever occurred. Every creature will be the same as its parent, and the great adventure of evolution would never have begun. The earth would still be silent, its oceans empty, its skies untouched by wings. But because mutation exists, life never stops exploring. Sometimes a mutation allows a creature to survive a new climate, or digest a new kind of food, or see the world in a new color. Those small advantages are remembered by time, passed on generation after generation until they become a part of the species itself. One of the most beautiful examples is the gift of color vision. Long ago, our early mammalian ancestors could only see shades of gray. But then, a small mutation changed the structure of a light-sensitive protein in the eye. Suddenly, red and green became visible. Ripe fruit could be found among green leaves. Danger could be spotted faster. Beauty could be perceived in new ways. From one microscopic change in DNA, the entire experience of vision expanded. This is what mutation does. It expands possibility. It opens new doors to new behaviors, new forms, new ways of living. Sometimes mutations are neutral. They simply exist, waiting quietly for their time to matter. Sometimes they are harmful and fade away, lost in the quiet filter of natural selection. But occasionally, a single, perfect change appears at just the right moment and reshapes everything that follows. If you look closely at yourself, you'll see the traces of these tiny gifts. Your ability to digest milk as an adult, a mutation. The diversity of fingerprints, a mutation. Even your brain's capacity for language was shaped by ancient genetic shifts that gave rise to new neural connections. Every word spoken, every thought imagined, is part of that inheritance. You are, in essence, the product of billions of quiet mutations, each one whispering across time, each one contributing a single note to the melody of your being. Life is not made of perfection. It is made of persistence, and mutation is its patient sculptor. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine the world as it once was, a place wild and unshaped, a planet full of life's earliest experiments. Tiny organisms drifted in the water, soft light filtered through the atmosphere, and every living thing faced the same quiet truth. To exist meant to survive. Survival is the pulse beneath all of evolution. It is not loud, not violent, but a quiet, steady sculptor, shaping everything that breathes. The idea is simple, yet profound. In the endless variety of life, some forms are better suited to endure, to adapt, to thrive in their surroundings. Others fade away softly, returning to the soil of history. This silent process, the one that chooses which traits remain and which are left behind, is called natural selection. It's often imagined as competition, but in truth, it's far more delicate than that. It's not a battle of the strongest, but a gentle filter of the most fitting. It's not about strength, but about harmony, about how well a being blends with the rhythm of its world. Picture a forest after rain, the leaves glistening, the soil breathing softly beneath your feet. Each plant there, each insect, each creature is a result of a long, invisible conversation between life and environment. Every root that finds water more efficiently, every feather that sheds rain just a little better, every pattern of camouflage that hides from a predator, all of these are quiet gifts, sculpted over generations by the patient hands of survival. And so, life refines itself, not through sudden leaps, but through endless gentle corrections. A bird that flies faster, a fish that blends with coral, a flower that opens only when its pollinators awake. Each one shaped softly by what helps endure. Even now in your own body, the story continues. Your immune system learns, adapts, remembers. It carries echoes of every challenge your ancestors faced. Viruses, cold, hunger, and fear. You are not just surviving for yourself. You are the continuation of every survival that came before. It's easy to forget, but life has always been creative under pressure. The harshest climates, the coldest nights, the deepest oceans have produced some of the most beautiful forms of existence. From the polar bear's white coat, to the cactus storing water deep within, to the chameleon shifting its colors under sunlight, each tells a story of survival's silent sculptor at work. And so, while change begins with mutation, it is survival that decides what remains. It is the artist who looks at each variation and chooses which ones belong in the masterpiece of life. Now, imagine time passing, not in days or years, but in the quiet sweep of ages. Forests rise and fall, seas drift and recede, mountains crumble into dust, and through it all, life continues to adapt. Every small shift in the environment becomes a question that life must answer, and in those answers, new forms emerge. Think of the giraffe, stretching its long neck toward the highest branches. Once, its ancestors may have looked much like any other animal, but as food grew scarce on the ground, those that could reach just a little higher had a greater chance to survive. Generation after generation, the neck lengthened, not by choice, but by quiet inheritance of what worked best. Or the Arctic fox, whose coat shifts color with the seasons, white in the snow, brown in the summer, each variation sculpted slowly by the hand of survival until the animal could vanish perfectly into its world. Adaptation is not fast. It is patient, gentle, and wise. It learns from what endures. It listens to the whisper of the world around it and shapes life to fit that sound. In humans, too, that sculpting has never stopped. Our bodies, our senses, our minds, they have all been refined by survival's hand. The ability to sweat, to cool the body under a burning sun, the shape of our noses, fitted to the air of our ancestors' climates. Even our skin tones, perfectly adjusted to balance sunlight and protection. All of it silent adaptation. All of it the Earth's long conversation with life. Survival is not cruel. It is simply attentive. It notices what works, what fits, what endures, and keeps it, and in doing so, it builds harmony. Each species becomes a reflection of its world. The desert shapes its dwellers. The ocean molds its swimmers. The mountain teaches resilience. And through it all, life listens to just survives. As time moves forward, the sculptor's work never ends. Each new generation carries not just the lessons of survival, but the opportunity for something new, to begin again. This is the quiet cycle of existence. Mutation creates the possibilities, and survival chooses the melody. Together, they form the rhythm of life. Even now, in the deepest jungles and highest peaks, this process continues. Slowly, beautifully, endlessly. A bird that migrates farther than before. A seed that grows in harsher soil. A whale that dives deeper into the cold. Each one a small note in the song of evolution. And though the process is ancient, it still breathes within you. Your heartbeat, your resilience, your ability to learn and adapt. These are the echoes of survival, still sculpting, still refining, still creating. You are not separate from nature's story. You are a continuation of it. The challenges you face, the ways you grow, the resilience you find within yourself. They are the same quiet forces that shaped every life before you. In your DNA, the blueprint of survival is written deeply. It remembers every cold winter your ancestors endured, every challenge they overcame, every adaptation they carried forward. When you breathe with lungs shaped by ancient air. When you move with muscles designed by endurance. And when you dream with a mind that survived every storm. So, when you look at life in all its color and complexity, remember that it was sculpted by something patient, something silent, something infinitely wise. Survival is not just the act of continuing. It is the art of becoming. Every living thing, including you, is the result of survival's quiet craftsmanship. And in that calm realization, you can almost hear it. The soft chisel of time, the whisper of the earth, still shaping, still sculpting, still breathing life into every corner of existence. There's a quiet part of your DNA, a region that scientists once looked at and simply called junk. It wasn't an insult, but a label born from mystery, a part of the genetic code that didn't seem to do anything. It didn't build proteins. It didn't create visible traits. It didn't follow the patterns we understood. So, for a long time, we ignored it. But nature, as it often does, keeps her secrets patiently. Imagine your DNA as a vast library. Each gene a book, each sentence a set of instructions that builds and maintains you. Within that library, scientists once saw long, repeating sequences, pages filled with letters that didn't seem to form words. They looked meaningless, like the scribbles in the margins of an ancient manuscript. But what if those scribbles were never random? What if they were notes from an author guiding the next reader through the story? For years, researchers turned page after page, looking only at the books that made clear sense, the ones that built proteins, the ones that expressed themselves visibly. And yet, nearly 98% of your DNA seemed to do nothing, at least not in a way we could understand. So we called it junk DNA, a placeholder, A mystery swept under the rug of science. But slowly, softly, a realization began to whisper through the scientific world that nature wastes nothing, that what appears silent often hums beneath the surface. And so, in laboratories around the world, scientists began to listen again, this time to the quiet parts of the genome. What they found was astonishing. That so-called junk wasn't junk at all. It was alive with purpose. It regulated, guided, remembered. It held the switches that turned other genes on and off. It carried echoes of evolution, of battles fought by ancient viruses, of traits long forgotten by the body, yet still written in its pages. Your junk DNA is like a deep archive, full of old letters, drafts, and unfinished chapters. Within it lie stories of who you once were and clues to who you might become. Among the most fascinating discoveries about junk DNA was that much of it didn't come from you at all. It came from ancient visitors, viruses, long ago, millions of years before you took your first breath. These viral fragments entered the cells of your ancestors. They slipped into the genome quietly and stayed, not to destroy, but to linger, to merge with life itself. Over time, they lost their ability to infect, but not their ability to influence. Now, about 8% of your genome is made of ancient viral DNA, the remnants of those old infections, woven so deeply into you that they have become part of your evolutionary identity. These viral ghosts didn't just stay quietly, either. They evolved alongside you, sometimes helping, sometimes hindering, but always whispering. Through the code of life, one of those viral remnants, scientists discovered, helped shape how the human placenta forms. Without it, mammalian reproduction might not even exist. So, in a strange way, you owe your very birth to an ancient virus that decided to become part of you. And when you think about that, about how the dangers became essential, how the invader became an ally, you begin to see evolution not as a war, but as a long, winding conversation between life and everything around it. Your DNA isn't a perfect, clean script. It's a living document, edited and re-edited over billions of years. Every generation, new footnotes appear. Some fade away, some become chapters, and some remain half-finished, waiting to be understood. And those ancient viral sequences, they still speak. In the faintest molecular whispers, they regulate gene expression. They influence immunity. They may even affect mood and brain function. They're the quiet ghosts, haunting the genetic library, not to scare, but to remind us that life is made from everything it has ever encountered. You are not just a product of human evolution. You are the result of a billion collaborations, some visible, some silent, some microscopic. And junk DNA is where those collaborations are written. As scientists continue to decode the human genome, they are finding that junk DNA is less of a mystery and more of a frontier. Hidden within those silent stretches of code are patterns that control timing, balance, and precision. They determine when a gene should wake and when it should rest. They create harmony between different systems in the body, from your metabolism to your immune response to your brain's development. It is in these quiet regions that evolution continues to write its poetry. Some scientists even believe that junk DNA might hold the key to our species' future adaptations because it provides space, a canvas for new information to emerge without disturbing what already works. It is, in a way, the evolutionary workshop. Mutations often arise here first, small changes in the silent sections that may one day find meaning. Perhaps deep in those stretches of code, there lies the next chapter of humanity, genes waiting to awaken, abilities waiting to unfold, responses waiting for the right moment to bloom, even dreams of longevity, of healing, of deeper connection between body and mind might be hiding there within the quiet corridors of your genome. The more we learn, the more we realize that silence does not mean emptiness. Just as the quiet of space hums with unseen energy, so too does your so-called junk DNA vibrate. With hidden life, it is the whisper between the words, the pause between the notes, the part of the song that gives it depth. You are not simply a product of the genes we understand. You are also the mystery of the ones we don't. And in that mystery, there is beauty, because every unknown code, every repeating sequence, every silent letter in your DNA is a reminder that you are still being written. Your story, the story of life, is not complete. It is unfolding in every breath, in every heartbeat, in every silent strand of DNA that hums quietly beneath your skin. So, the next time you hear the word junk, smile softly to yourself, and remember that within the quietest places, nature often hides her greatest secrets. There's a memory within you, one that doesn't exist in your mind, but in every cell of your body. It isn't made of images or words, but of patterns, subtle chemical imprints, left by countless generations before you. This is the memory of adaptation, a record not of thoughts, but of survival. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine every ancestor that ever lived, stretching back through the corridors of time, from the first human who walked under the stars, to the tiny ocean-dwelling creatures that first learned to divide and replicate. Each one of them faced a changing world, cold, drought, famine, predators, disease, and in each trial, something changed within them, not instantly, not by choice, but slowly, quietly, through the whispering language of genes. When an organism faces a new challenge, its body tries to adjust. Sometimes it's through behavior, sometimes through chemistry, but over generations, those temporary responses can become permanent. That is how adaptation is remembered. A bird that once needed to migrate farther passes on a slightly altered physiology to its offspring. A fish that endured salter water develops the tolerance written in its genes. A mammal that faced a colder climate passes forward thicker fur, better insulation, and more efficient metabolism. In each case, the body writes down the lesson, not in a journal, but in DNA. Your own body is full of such memories. Your ability to digest certain foods, your resistance to some diseases, even your sleeping patterns, carry echoes of your ancestors' environments. It's a silent inheritance, the knowledge of survival, woven deep into your code. And what's more fascinating is that genes not only record the long history of adaptation, but sometimes they remember shorter, more immediate experiences in ways we are only beginning to understand. Scientists call it epigenetics, a kind of molecular memory system where your body's environment can influence how your genes behave without changing their sequence. If DNA is the book, epigenetics is the way it's read, which pages are opened, which are bookmarked, which are sealed for later use. And so your genes, though ancient, are not static. They're alive to your experiences. Stress, diet, light, sound, even emotion can all leave gentle fingerprints on how your DNA expresses itself. It's as though your body listens to your life and adjusts its song in response. When scientists began studying epigenetics, they found something quietly astonishing, that these changes could be inherited. In other words, your body doesn't just remember for itself. It sometimes passes that memory onward. One of the most haunting examples comes from the mid-20th century, a time of deep hunger, known as the Dutch famine of 1944. Children born during that famine grew up with certain health issues, a higher risk of heart disease and diabetes. But what truly surprised researchers was that their children, the next generation, carried similar patterns. It was as though the body remembered scarcity and tried to prepare the future for what it had endured. This is a memory of adaptation, life's way of saying, "Be ready, I have seen this before." Other studies found similar patterns. Mice exposed to a certain scent, alongside a mild shock, developed fear responses, and their offspring, born without any exposure, reacted to the same scent with fear. Their genes had remembered the association. No words were passed on, no conscious warning, just a molecular whisper, quietly preparing the next generation. Your DNA, it seems, is not a rigid code, but a living archive, one that learns, remembers, and adapts. Every scar your ancestors endured, every hardship they faced, every triumph that allowed them to live another day is written in you. The genes you carry are not just blueprints for structure, but diaries of survival. They tell the deserts that taught thirst, the winters that sculpted endurance, the diseases that trained immunity, and the dangers that refined awareness. Even your instincts, the slight tightening in your chest at sudden sounds, the calm you feel near water, the comfort of firelight, are echoes of those ancient lessons. It's easy to think of evolution as slow, but the truth is more poetic. Life has always had ways to remember what worked. Adaptation is a language of time, and you are fluent in it without even knowing. Think of your DNA now, not as a static string of letters, but as a living library where each gene is a story, and each adaptation a memory lovingly preserved. In this library, some chapters are billions of years old, stories of cells learning to breathe oxygen, to divide, to sense light. Others are much newer, humans adapting to high altitudes, to changing diets, to different climates, and even newer still, maybe the memories your body is forming right now, from the air you breathe, the food you eat, the stress you feel, and the calm you allow yourself to find. The fascinating thing is that these molecular memories don't vanish when the individual life ends. They echo forward through children, grandchildren, and perhaps beyond that too. You are, in a very real sense, the living continuation of every adaptation that ever succeeded, the archive of endurance, the museum of survival. Every time your body heals, or learns, or grows stronger from struggle, it's practicing that same ancient art of remembering through change. Even your emotions may carry adaptive wisdom. Your sense of curiosity, your capacity for empathy, your instinct to nurture, all may be written in your genes, shaped by the countless lives before yours. That found survival and connection. It's humbling, isn't it? To think that within you lives not only your own story, but the stories of every being that made you possible. And as you rest and your breathing slows, you can almost feel it, the gentle hum of that library within you, every cell, every strand of DNA, quietly remembering what it took to be here. So, the next time you feel small or uncertain or lost in the vastness of time, remember this. You are not a beginning. You are a continuation, a masterpiece carved from adaptation's memory, a living thread in an endless tapestry, woven by the hands of life itself. Your genes remember. They always have. And through you, they always will. Take a deep breath and let it out slowly. In this quiet moment, feel the weight of your existence, not as a burden, but as a wonder, because within you, hidden in every cell, is a record of life's entire journey. You are, quite literally, a living archive. Your DNA is not simply yours. It is a collective memory of everything that has ever lived before you. Each breath you take, each blink, each heartbeat is powered by instructions that began their story billions of years ago, when the first cell floated in a sunlit ocean, feeling its way through existence. From that first spark of life, generation after generation added a line, a paragraph, a new idea to the story. And now that story is you. In your cells live the same mechanisms that once powered ancient sea creatures. In your blood, iron echoes from the stars that forged it. In your genes, there are whispers of reptiles, mammals, and even microorganisms, each leaving their faint, patient mark upon the manuscript of life. It's easy to think of yourself as separate, a single being, standing apart from nature, but the truth is softer and far more beautiful. You are not apart. You are the sum of all things. Every part of your body is a collaboration, an orchestra of memories, playing in perfect harmony. Your lungs remember the ocean's rhythm. Your eyes remember the first creatures that sense light beneath ancient waters. Your hands carry the dexterity of ancestors who shaped tools beneath open skies. Even your emotions, your dreams, your fears carry fragments of that long evolution. The mammal's need for warmth, the human's yearning for connection, the creature's instinct to survive. You are in every way the living proof that time can think, that matter can remember, that life can write its own history. Now imagine this, a single thread of DNA, unbroken, stretching through time, from the first cell that divided to the plants that turned sunlight into food, to the animals that roamed the early earth, to you, sitting here now, listening to the quiet rhythm of existence. That thread never snapped. It wove its way through storms, through ice ages, through mass extinctions, and gentle dawns alike. Every time life changed form, the thread adapted, adding, removing, rewriting, but never losing continuity. And that means something profound, that the DNA inside you is not new. It is ancient, an unbroken chain, linking you to everything that has ever lived. You share genes with trees, with whales, with birds, and even with the simplest bacteria. The same molecules that help a fern sense sunlight help your skin heal. The same cellular rhythm that beats in a hummingbird's heart echoes in yours. You are connected, not metaphorically, but molecularly. Every living thing is another verse of the same poem. Every creature, a reflection of the same creative impulse. When you look at the world, at the forests, the oceans, the night sky, you are looking at yourself, spread across time and form. And that realization, softly held, changes everything. Because suddenly, you see that the earth is not something you live on. It's something you live as. Your body is her memory. Your genes, her stories. Your existence, her ongoing experiment with beauty. The atoms in your bones, once floated in distant stars. The carbon in your breath was once exhaled by ancient forests. The water in your blood has been part of oceans, clouds, and rains that fell before history began. You are not simply alive. You are continuation itself, life remembering life. And through you, the universe contemplates its own existence. You, the observer, and the observed are one and the same, different faces of a single eternal story. So now as you rest, and the world around you softens, let this truth sink in quietly. You are not a random collection of cells. You are a carefully woven tapestry, made of time, memory, and starlight. Every joy you feel, every tear you've shed, every thought that drifts through your mind tonight is part of an ancient rhythm, still echoing through existence. You carry within you the fingerprints of galaxies, the patterns of oceans, the breath of your ancestors. And even as your story unfolds, you are adding new pages to this eternal archive, new lessons, new experiences, new dreams that future generations may one day inherit. Every heartbeat you live is another line in the universe's story. Every breath you take is a signature of life's resilience. And when you close your eyes tonight, the same ancient chemistry that powered your ancestors' dreams will lull you gently into sleep. You, the living archive, the witness of time, the continuation of everything that has ever been. You are part of something vast, something tender, something endlessly creative. So rest now, knowing that the story of life continues through you. And as your breathing slows and the world grows still, listen to the faint hum of your body, to the whisper of your genes, to the quiet memory of life itself. All of it singing softly in unison, saying, you are alive, you are part of everything, and everything is part of you. Sleep well, dream deeply, and remember, you are the living archive of creation. Good night and goodbye, dear listener.